Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm in Suffolk and we've arrived in Felixstowe. We're going to do the whole tour of Felixstowe, which is quite extensive actually. You've got the Port of Felixstowe, you've got the old part of Felixstowe and the main seafront. We're starting off here in the old part of Felixstowe at Felixstowe Ferry. As always, I'd love it if you could hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell so you know when I'm doing a new video. So just walking up here, and the first thing we come across is the Ferry Cafe, which has been here for years. I remember coming here as a kid during stormy periods, and in the past this area actually does get flooded. Felixstowe Ferry Sailing Club just up there. Some of these houses though are pretty impressive. Look at that one, it's like a boat. So when you come down here, parking is pretty limited. There's a pay and display park here, and also just up there is some parking too. Great place to get yourself a bit of food there at the Ferry Cafe. And this is a very popular spot as well to get some fresh fish. A lot of people go crabbing on this part of the pier here in Felixstowe, and if you go in there and ask nicely, they'll give you some scraps to go and to use. I think you might have to pay a couple of pence. But this is where a lot of people enjoy crabbing. As you can see, some people over there doing it. So if you want to go across towards Bawdsey, what you need to do, just get on this ferry. Costs you about £4. And they don't allow it anymore, but you used to be able to go crabbing along here. No one's in there at the moment, otherwise I would have gone across, but you literally just go across over there. I believe there's an area where you can go and get a coffee or a tea. And then over there is a very famous building. This was built back in 1886. It was notably used back in February 1936, where research scientists, including Robert Wandsworth Watt, moved into the manor to begin research and development into radar for military use. It then became known as RAF Bawdsey. It was recently sold back in 2017 by a travel company which provided school activity courses and summer camps for children in the United Kingdom. So just walking through the Boatyard here, pretty impressive boats that are up. Look at that. I've always wanted a boat myself. Just maybe a starter price for 2,000. What do I get? Don't make any sense to me, but yeah. When I say I want a boat, I probably want a motorised boat rather than a sailboat, because I would not know what I'm doing. So cute. Such a great view from here, seeing all the boats. Just love how they're just like left, and it's questionable if that's ever been used in a long time, or that one. Lobster pots here, even more boats just littered around. Somebody's boat there called Nancy. See, even if you have a boat like that, you can name it after somebody you love. It's a random little boat here just left. I am tempted to get in it, but obviously I'll probably get told off. See the tide coming in here. So this is the River Deben, I think you pronounce it. And obviously it goes all the way around out to sea towards the rest of Felixstowe. It's just so lovely just to be here, and it's just so nice if you want to come and collect your thoughts, just hear it. I love how peaceful it is here in this old part of Felixstowe. It's so nice. Quite a few of the houses around the old part of Felixstowe really remind me of being in America. The wooden style houses right here on the beach. I'm always intrigued to find little quirky places to stay on the coast. Just seen this up for rent, 2-storey, a little bit of a balcony. Great view though. No swimming on this part of the beach because the tide is like really strong. You can just see the power of the tide as it's coming in with that boat. You can see across there to all the shingle banks. If we continue walking up this way, we'll go towards Felixstowe. Another little place there where you can rent, overlooking the river. Sleeps 5 to 6 people, just next to the sailing club. Again, great views. Just like to point out the ferry boat in there. They do amazing food. If you want to go and grab yourself a lunch or a light bite with seating outside, really nice in there. We're going to go and take a look at this building up here because special importance along the coast. Just having a look at the old abandoned pub over there, the Victoria at the ferry, which has just been left empty. I'd have thought back in the day this was probably a really lovely area to come and have a drink. Looks like it's just been left abandoned. Anyone knows any more info about this, tell me in the comments. So you'll find a couple of these up here on the coast. These are Martello Towers. They're actually around the whole of the coastline and they were built across the British Empire during the 19th century. They stand up to about 40 feet with about 2 floors inside. Love this fence as well they've put up. Really authentic. Obviously the round shape of them and the really thick walls used to make them very resistant against cannon fire. Look how deep the window goes. And can you see out in the distance there, that little dot there? When you come to Felixstowe, you can clearly see it looks like a H on the horizon of the sea. That's an old abandoned gas platform or oil platform. See the boats coming into the river? That's a nice boat. So to get to this part of Felixstowe, you do have to come through the golf course. There's a road that goes all the way through it, which is a bit weird when you're driving because you're probably getting worried that you're going to get hit by a golf ball. But in all the years I've been coming here, it hasn't happened yet. Let me know in the comments if it's ever happened to you. And just there you can see the docks or the top of the cranes just poking out. So this looks really black, but it's actually seaweed. So a lot of people think Felixstowe is just a port, but it is so much more. And coming up to this area, you can go for some real beautiful walks. Like I say, you can cross over to Bawdsey over there and do some real exploring. We're going to go and check out this other little building that you can see here perched along the golf course. I'm sure this is some kind of flooding defence that I'm on right now because there's a drop either side, the shingle beach over there and obviously a little bit of marshland before it goes on to the golf course. And believe it or not, this is actually situated on the golf course, right here on the green. These buildings, you know, are absolutely amazing piece of history on the coast, but it's such a shame that there's nothing here to tell you about it when visitors come. That's so weird just to see the door in mid-air. And the fact is, at one point, I'm not quite sure, did someone actually live in there? Because that's like a normal type-ish door. And just before I continue, I thought I'd treat myself to a Doom bar. Never had one of these before actually, but have a nice Adnams Southwold glass. Let's give it a try. Nice. I tend not to have too much bitter, it goes right to my gut. So I've just continued my walk from the old part of Felixstowe, walking up to this area here. There's some really beautiful houses along the cliff top here as you walk along. And you come to this little area. Now, we're not in Felixstowe just yet. We're just still on the outskirts. You can clearly see the cranes there from the docks in the distance. And also along there you can just make out the pier and the seafront as it stretches along, and seeing Harwich in the distance. Now, Felixstowe has suffered with a lot of coastal erosion, hence why a lot of these rocks were put in a good few years ago, which has actually helped the beach quite a lot, especially in the main part of Felixstowe, because it always used to be shingle, as you can still see. There's a lot of shingle on the beach, but in Felixstowe there is a lot more sand than I remember as a kid. And even on a day like today, these beaches are great for swimming because of the shallow waters and the little bays that are in place. Now there's your daily exercise, going for a swim in the sea every day. And this is a popular spot for swimmers here. You might be able to see just out there some little flags and that green buoy and a ring around it. A lot of people go swimming a couple of laps around there. These remind me a little bit of Wells with these on the beach, with their little balconies and little steps down. We were saying how a lot of houses along the seafront look really Americanized, just like that one. It's really pretty. I've been coming to Felixstowe since I was a kid, and I remember this being a really big care home. It's now been done up and sold off as apartments, again with some really beautiful views. Great little area for chalets over here as well. And in Victorian times, just like the rest of the East Coast, the Seafront Gardens were always a very popular place to go, and the Seafront Gardens here in Felixstowe were very impressive, and they still are today. You can see some of the history on some of these plaques, how grand the gardens used to look, and a lot of restoration work has been happening to restore them to their natural beauty. A lot of people miss these gardens because they either go to the main part of Felixstowe or they go to the old end. It's really pretty. This area here is a historic water feature known as the Arc Cascade. Very nice. Now, if you're a big fan of Instagram, definitely come down here and take your photo on that. Amazing. You would think you were in America with the houses along here and the gardens. That's until you see the cranes from the docks. This is known as the Round Pond. Looks a bit green. These are all well signposted, just seen the lily pond and off to see the shelter up there. It is a bit of a maze, to be honest, and you need to be pretty fit to be going up and down these stairs. Wow, nice little area to have a sit down. Shame about the graffiti. Wow, what a beautiful view. These gardens were so impressive back in the day. Around 1928 they were opened up by the Mayor of London to the general public. And coming up to this area here, the famous Spa Pavilion, if you fancy going to see a show in Felixstowe. Obviously not currently at the moment, unfortunately. Little areas up here where you can grab a tea and coffee before the show. One thing I've always noticed about Felixstowe is the flowers along the seafront. Always looks so beautiful. So the gardens continue over here to what I think is the most impressive part of it. And so we've come to the end of the Seafront Gardens. You can see pretty much where we've walked. We've just walked from that part, which is Undercliff Road, all the way along the seafront there towards the Spa Pavilion, and then just ended up here where the town hall is. And I think this is the original town hall as well. And if you've been coming to Felixstowe for any length of time, you'll notice how the Peter's ice cream stalls are still here, normally open. If you want to go up into the town, there's two ways. There's one way there, and they're very steep to walk up into the town, and there's another entrance up the front there. So coming up here to what is the new Felixstowe Pier. A few years back they knocked the old one down and replaced it with this. You still can't walk to the end of the pier. If anyone can remember how the old one used to look, this one looks a lot better with the stained glass window there with all the ships. Looks really pretty. And just like on the old pier, they always used to have a place to get your donuts, and there's another place there to get your donuts and coffee. And this is a new addition which I think looks really great here in Felixstowe to go and enjoy. A nice bit of food in the evening, the boardwalk. Great place to have a sit down, have a bit of food. So Felixstowe seafront along there, and then around the corner, you can see the cranes just popping out, is Felixstowe docks. Back a long time ago, you used to be able to walk all the way along, and there used to be a semi-attraction on the end there. I think there was some kind of slide or something, and going back even further than that, people used to go fishing off the end. There's only this part you're now allowed to go on. I think it's deemed a little bit unsafe, which is a shame when they were redoing the whole pier that they didn't continue all the way along actually. So just looking down this way, you can see where literally I've walked from all the way down the end there, and around the corner is the old part of Felixstowe. That grand house that I pointed out just over there, and the Seafront Gardens, which you can't really see, which stretched along. Now you see all of these were the sea defences that were here before all the rocks were put in. And they're not needed this side, but again on the other side where there's been a lot of erosion, that's where they were placed. So for people that have been coming to Felixstowe for a long time, they might remember this area just outside of the leisure centre, because what you can see is a ring there that is now grass and has been filled in what used to be a boating lake. And they used to have these big rubber rings, little motorised boats that used to be able to go on. They're almost like bumper cars, but on water. And then just behind it, they had like a few tea stalls and ice cream stalls. And then they had go-karts where that car park is. But they took it all out, replaced it with this and a car park. Bit of a shame. Let me know in the comments below if you remember that. So the promenade just there, main seafront here, parking in Felixstowe. It's probably why they filled that in actually, to do some parking, because parking isn't the best. You have to kind of park along the road here, which makes it very busy on sunny days. And I'm sure it was here they used to have a little tiny train that used to go around just in a big circle. I'm not talking about this one, but they used to have a little miniature one. Throughout the years, these have all been used for different attractions. Nothing majorly that big. Stuff for the kids to do. And this is so sad to see. When I was a kid, this place was at the heart of the seafront. The Marlborough Hotel, which is now all boarded up. It used to be jam-packed with people having Sunday lunch in here. And I always remember walking into the hotel entrance where you'd go into the restaurant to get your Sunday dinner, and the floorboards really creaking, like most seaside hotels. What does the future hold for this hotel? Nobody knows. Hopefully somebody will buy it. Used to be a lovely restaurant in there. The Rattan Restaurant, that was it. So walking along the seafront, there isn't too much here in Felixstowe. I guess we're coming up to the main area now where there are amusements and places to go and get food. That used to be a very popular restaurant back in the day, still is now, mostly fish and chips though. And if you've been coming to Felixstowe for a while, this used to be the Family Amusements. It's recently had a bit of a facelift, which looks really nice. There used to be a snooker place at the top, which I think is still there, now known as the 147 Club, and is now known as Fantasia. This had a facelift in the past, I don't know, 15 years. There used to be just a row of like candy floss fish and chip shops. And coming up here is the Mannings Amusements, which used to hold its own amusement park. It started all back in 1933 and was the first attraction that was built by Sir Billy Butlin and was one of his early resorts. It's been owned and managed by the same family since 1946, and the crazy house that you can see there has been there since the park actually opened. I remember going in there as a kid. It used to be so much fun. There was a room where you could go in where it was dark and you'd press a button, you'd see a shadow on the wall, and then it would end in a big ball pit. It's probably one of my favourite areas of the park. When I was younger, I do remember there being a big wheel on the top, on the roof there. Can anyone else remember that? And this used to be the site of the very popular Felixstowe Market, which is now moved into Mannings. Again, not quite sure what they're going to do with this area. It used to be the Cavendish Hotel, which, by looking at the photos, was a really grand little hotel here along the seafront. And it is a pretty awesome sight to come up here just to see how big some of these ships actually are with all those containers on it. And if you've ever bought anything online from abroad, chances are that it's come through Felixstowe. So there's the docks over there, and just here is the impressive Landguard Fort, and I definitely suggest you come and take a look around here when it's open again. So much history. They've seen many battles at this fort, and the last invasion was the last opposed seaborne invasion in England by the Dutch back in 1667. The current fort was built back in the 18th century. It was modified in the 19th century, and you can see the batteries on the outside which used to protect the fort. It also played an important anti-aircraft role during the Second World War in 1951. I mean, the great thing about Langar Fort is there's so much to see and explore when most of it is actually open. There's loads of little outbuildings as well that you can see scattered around. And looking back onto the impressive Landguard Fort and the docks. Like I say, most of these are all cornered off, but this one is open for you just to walk in and see what others would have seen back in the day, looking out for enemies and other ships. See these tugs literally just pulling that massive container ship away from the dockyard. It's still pretty impressive to see the fact that these container ships literally come from all over the world. The camera does not do it justice how big that ship is. And a nice blow on the horn to say goodbye. The way that echoes around is amazing. Hey, maybe if we go like this, they'll honk again. Come on. No. It really puts it into perspective when you see that tiny little house and that massive container ship behind. It's amazing to think 9 times out of 10, things you buy online from abroad come through here. You'll also hear these container ships clanging away at night if you stay in Felixstowe, maybe on a holiday park or in a caravan. And I think it's quite eerie at night, but I think it adds a nice atmosphere. And let me know if you ever walked around Landguard Fort as a kid, maybe before it was all fenced off. Please, as always, make sure you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.